My name is Sean Thomas, and I'm the author of Be More Today, a 40-day guide to a better version of you. As Doctor of Physical Therapy, I've seen thousands of people do great things. They came to me with ailments, physical ailments, pain, issues, and they got through them, all because they decided in their mind they were going to do it. And I guarantee you, if you just trust the process and be persistent, you too can be the best version of you. Have you ever been out and about, traveling, running, and you're trying to figure out how to hold everything on you? Phone, keys, wallet, lip gloss, lip balm, your gels. I gotta tell you, the best belt you can ever use is by one company, and that company's name is Spy Belt. Spy Belt makes an innovative running belt that solves the pocketless problem. Whatever small personal items, SPI, need to be toted during physical activity, you will hold it in your very discreet, expandable running belt with comfort and ease over any distance. And those are the words taken right from Kim Overton, CEO and founder and inventor of the Spy Belt product. Kim's a great friend of mine. She sponsors the Be More Today show, and we support all things that Kim does. So, if you're looking for the best belt on the market, visit spybelt.com today and check out all their amazing belts. I wear them for all my runs, and I think they are the best. If you go on today and use the code BeMoreToday, you can get 10% off any of their merchandise. So check out spybelt.com, and let's continue to be more today with Spy Belt. Run smart, run free, run with Spy Belt. Don't let aches and pains hold you back from living your life. At JAG Physical Therapy, our experienced clinicians create a personalized treatment plan that fits each and every patient's needs uniquely. Whether it's recovering from an injury or enhancing your performance, we've got you covered. With over 150 locations throughout New York, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania, there is sure to be a JAG Physical Therapy location near you. Visit jagpt.com and book an appointment today to get back the life you love. That's jagpt.com. jagpt.com.
Welcome to the Be More Today show. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our show today. Now, let's hear it from our host, Dr. Sean Thomas.
What's going on, folks? Your boy again, Dr. Sean Thomas, back in the building with the Be More Today show. We are back in the building, folks, and we are still here in the month of March. Happy birthday to all my March babies. You already know, March babies, stand up. I am one of them, and I appreciate all the March babies in the house. It's our time of the year. The sun is shining. Spring is finally here. We're excited for that. And the Be More Today show continues to be here now in our sixth season 6 of the Be More Today show. Our theme for this year is being more alive in 2025. And we're doing that. We're doing that in so many ways. As you know, Be More Today is a movement. BeMoreToday.com for my book, my second book called Project More, which is out right now on Amazon and on my Be More Today platform. So go out there and check it out if you want to as well. And as always, our step challenge continues to be inspirational to many, many people. We had our first challenge this year in January. I won that challenge. Thank you very much. I finally won my first challenge. My challenge, I should be winning these things, but I actually won that one. And our next one actually starts April 1st. So sign up right now. It's open for our step challenge for April 1st. 10,000 steps for 40 days. You guys can do it. You guys can do it. For all the information, check out Be More Today. Our BeMoreToday.show, BeMoreToday.pt, and your boy here, Dr. Sean Thomas, on Instagram and on Facebook, doing all things. This podcast continues to grow, now heard in 90 different countries, over 70,000 downloads again. Your love and support makes this thing rock, and I appreciate you guys from the bottom of my heart. We give a shout out to our sponsors, Spy Belt, as you already know, and our big sponsor, JAG Physical Therapy, for always being a part of this podcast and being supportive of the movement. And our monthly patrons, as always, thank you guys so much. And this week, we're featuring again the great athletic trainers around the world as we celebrate Athletic Training Month. And the theme for this year is champions in healthcare. We had some ATs on earlier this month. And for this show today, I'm bringing on some more athletic trainers because we want to know more about the great things they're doing. So as you already know, I work with the company JAG Physical Therapy, the best PT company in the Northeast, if not in the country. And we have a number of ATs on the show today, including one of our AT managers at JAG Physical Therapy, Kristen Loyola. Kristen, what is going on? How are you? What is going on with you today?
Hi, Sean. Thank you so much for having me on. Definitely very excited to continue to showcase the profession of athletic training. We have a great group here with a whole host of experiences and different things that they can really bring to this field. So we are all definitely excited to be here.
I'm happy to have you here. I know you have a team of amazing clinicians with you as well. I want to go through and just kind of meet some of these guys right now. So, James, how are you doing today?
Good. Thanks for having me on, Sean. James Horan. I'm an athletic trainer at Bernards High School in Somerset County, and I've been there for 4 years now.
Awesome, amazing, amazing. And we got Joseph. Joseph, what's going on?
Hey, thanks for having me here, Sean. Yeah, Joseph Voya. I'm the athletic trainer at the New Jersey State Police Academy down in Seagirt, New Jersey. And I've been there for about 3.5 years.
Amazing, amazing, amazing. We got Chris. Chris, how are you doing today?
Hey, Sean. Really excited to be on today. Name's Chris Ruprecht. I'm the athletic trainer at Cairn University in Bucks County in Pennsylvania. This is my third full year, so 3.5 years roughly a year.
All right, all right, all right. And we have Alexis. Alexis, what is going on?
Hey, Sean, thanks for the invite back. Alexis Ayala here. I am the athletic trainer for Rutgers University in charge of their club sports.
Amazing, amazing. Good to have you back. Yes, remember we had you on last time. So happy to have you back and happy to have all you here for this show today. We're looking at the unseen prep. Now, I know a lot of stuff happens behind the scenes. We talked last time about athletic training and how important it is, the spectrum of ATs and what you guys do. It's so really inspiring what you guys can do for others, not just athletes on the field, but also people in the work environment, talking about ergonomics and just so many things. But so much goes behind the scenes that we don't see, that I don't see. And I want to talk about that a little bit tonight. So I'm going to talk with James first. James, you have a very distinct population. Talk to us about the people that you work with and how you prepare yourself and your population to be more on game day.
So, as I said, I work at a high school setting, so adolescents is my population. So usually for game days, I try to do all my field setup first. So crutch bag, splint bag, all the big kind of stuff. Set the field first up, so then I don't have to worry about that later. And then once I start having my athletes come in, get a vibe of how they're doing that day, because usually within the first 5-10 minutes, you can get a vibe of if there's anxiousness, if they're loose, what kind of vibe they're getting, and just trying to feed in that. For certain sports like football, it's a longer prep time, so usually we'll have my speaker going, playing music and everything like that, getting guys locked in and stuff like that. And then whatever they need, taping, if it's trigger point release, massage to get their muscles and everything loose up. Also, for most of the sports, I also run the dynamic warm-up portion of it. So for certain ones, it's more intricate. So like soccer, I actually use bands as part of the prep for activation of the muscles. Same thing with basketball and everything. And then once everyone's out on the field and everything, I just bring out my last minute things like my medical kit and everything. And then we're ready to rock and roll.
Amazing. It's a lot of stuff. It's a lot of preparation for that one day. How do you personally, now you talked about all the people that you work with, all the kids, and they get ready for those things. You prepare for that. But how do you get ready for it? Like, how do you mentally prepare for this thing, even physically get ready to take care of the kids that you're working with?
So usually that time beforehand where I'm just like doing things myself before I have kids start coming in, then I start mentally preparing. So going over who needs what that day kind of thing. Because especially like with larger teams like a football, whatever, you might have 20 plus guys coming in. So, okay,
Yeah.
so and so needs this, so and so needs that. Trying to remember if you did treatment the day before, how that went and everything to then plan your day of when guy or girl starts coming in and everything.
Right, right, right. Yeah, I'm just thinking about, we have similar populations in a way, me preparing for my caseload for the day. And there's a certain amount of preparation mentally I have to go through to be able to go in there and say, okay, I have to go in here and make sure I treat and give and care for everyone. But I do think there's a certain amount of physical prep and even mental prep as clinicians that we need to go out there and be the best for our kids, our clients, our athletes, whatever else. And sometimes that gets put to the wayside, but sometimes it really needs to be a priority, because if we really pour from an empty cup, you can't do anything from that, right? So the better that you are for yourself, the better you be for your people. And I know, just looking at the demographic of what's happening here with Joseph, your population is a little different than James's. So talk to us about what it's like working with the State Police Academy and how that preparation goes for you.
Sure, absolutely. Well, yeah, it's definitely a unique setting. Whereas I may not have a football team or a soccer team, but the recruits have defensive tactics training, swim training, physical training, firearms training. So the prep that goes into it is all about the communication aspect. And what I mean by that is, because at any given moment, obviously an emergency situation can happen. So we have to constantly have it organized of, who's going to be in contact, of who's going to call this service and who's going to call that service. Because God forbid someone, on firearms training, someone gets shot. It's crazy to think about, but it's a possibility. And they're constantly being assessed. So they're constantly going 100%. So to prep and to prepare for that, I need to make sure that this person knows their job, that person knows their job. If there's an emergency situation and I'm working with the quote unquote injured recruit, I need to make sure that this sergeant is, phoning 911, or, this trooper is escorting the, EMS into the, whatever facility it may be. It's crazy to think about, like a gunshot wound or someone potentially drowning in a pool, but these are things that I see on a regular basis, especially also when it comes to some of more of their defensive tactics training, where they're doing MMA. They're punching and hitting each other as if these were going to be real life situations.
Right.
So I'm always prepared with, I guess you want to say, the way I prepare is I'd rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it. So setting up everything that I need to have ahead of time, and making sure all my T's are crossed, my I's are dotted. That's really what I do, have that open communication, make sure I have everything I need. And that's going to make the job a lot easier.
Wow. Is there special training that you guys go through? I'm just talking the difference between the different groups, right? James and Joseph, in terms of working with adolescents and then working with the more skilled police academy people. Is there any training that goes into that to make sure that you can treat and attend to those different demographics as succinctly as possible? Like how does that work in terms of the AT world?
I don't know from a specific where, we work with one particular population or have special training for adolescents. For my experience, when I got into the state police, there wasn't anything special. It was just my normal background, my education from as an athletic trainer, and taking those concepts and applying it to that. Some of it was a little bit of trial by fire and seeing how things go. But ultimately, the concepts are still the same when dealing with a ankle sprain at the academy and dealing with an ankle sprain that, say, James may have with a football player.
Right.
There are differences, obviously, because of what we do at the academy and with some of the equipment that we use. But ultimately, it's care is still care, whether they are an athlete or a tactical athlete.
Understood. I know we have Alexis and Chris. You guys are both in the university setting. Let's go Alexis first. What's your preparation for yourself and for your population working with the university?
I do, because I'm at the club level. I have so many different sports going on and so many different scheduling, level conflicts. There's so much happening that I spend a lot of time trying to communicate with coaches, with club presidents, with my recreation admin. So I spend a lot of time lately focusing on communication, so that way I can help better set my day up to help take care of these athletes. So for example, my rugby, they have to do their own field prep. So setting up the post itself, setting up corner flags, and they only have X amount of field time. So I find out when their field time starts, and then I usually try to come in a little earlier to not only get my stuff done in terms of water, getting my kit and things ready, but also so that way they have flexibility so they can come in, get whatever tape, attention, treatment that they need, so that way they can then focus on their warm-ups, getting loose, getting ready, being with the team. Because it's similar to like what James was touching on. We can kind of help set the tone for the day. We have an important role in making sure that the athletes can kind of really focus on what they need to get ready for game day prep. And if we came in unprepared and then we're rushing and scrambling, we could essentially affect and bring, and that can have a carryover into how they feel during warm-ups potentially. Because I learned throughout my career that we do play a bigger role than what most people think in regards to just team atmosphere and chemistry.
That's big. Yeah, and I hear that for sure. Chris, what are your thoughts?
I mean, it's definitely a little bit different from, the high school to college level. For me, seeing what the athletes are, how they are coming into the athletic training room, kind of like what James said, it's kind of like a vibe check. Depending on what kind of game it is, if it's one of the more important games of the season, they're a little more focused. So I'm not as, believe it or not, as jokingly with them and trying to like brighten the mood with them, but I kind of feed off their vibe. I kind of go with their vibe and just let them focus, do what they need to do. If they need treatment, tape, massage, anything like that, I do it. I let them kind of zone in, and then they head out to the court, the turf, anything, wherever they're going. And yeah, it's really just making sure they stay in the mindset of this is a game that we need to win. It's a very important game. I don't really want to lose focus, things like that.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's funny listening to all of you talk about your experiences. I miss being active. I mean, I'm active, but I miss being able to see things for my patients to be active, right? When I see patients, they're coming to me either before or after certain things. So, we're hoping to do certain things and then we send them out. And then I don't know what's happening until they come back and share with us was actually, how'd the game go, how'd the race go, whatever else. But you guys are actually on the field. You're actually seeing things real time. It's different. And that must be exciting, right? Being able to help that person, like you said, get in the right mindset, get in the right vibe, get ready for game day, prepping for those things, and then actually being there to watch them act that thing out, perform that thing out. That's totally different than what a lot of other clinicians like PTs and OTs are doing, right? We're actually, again, seeing things either before or after, and we hear the stories. Hopefully they're true. Sometimes they're not, but whatever else. We hear the stories from our patients about what's going on, but you actually seeing things in real time is special. And I think that's what I'm taking from this now. That preparation is good to see. You actually from the beginning to the actual game time itself, and then of course after, assessing how things went, recovery, and whatever else. So that's special. As a scientist, I took from that just now. That's really special. And Kristen, I'm looking at your team. Your team is amazing. But you, as the manager of athletic training at JAG, you have your own team, right? These guys are part of your team as well as others who were on the last show. And whether you're treating people on the field or just getting your team ready, there's a certain demographic that is needing of your services also to prepare your squad. So how do you prepare your ATs, your team to also be more today?
Yeah, I think just, providing the team with all essentially the necessary resources and all the support that they need to allow them just to go and function the best that they can in their facility. As we know, all of our athletic trainers are awesome at their job. They're really good at what they do. And I think just being able to provide those resources to them and allow them just to really, again, do their job, do what they do best, do what they love is something that's really important. And I think that kind of stems from anywhere in leadership. And that could be whether it's athletic training leadership, whether it's in their individual organizations, such as athletic directors, coaches, anything like that. Just kind of having a cohesive and supportive environment definitely really, helps the environment of an athletic trainer and helps us thrive. When it comes down to it, it's kind of almost like a trickle down effect. We have, who, we're working with, who we're working for. We allow our athletic trainers to be the best that they can, and then therefore they can provide the best treatment they can for their athletes. So I think on our half, it's making sure we have pretty open and honest communication, allowing everybody to express what they need and making our best efforts to do so. But it's also just kind of pushing each other to be the best that we can do. One thing that we definitely value in our team is education, open communication, one of the tough parts about being an athletic trainer, especially sometimes if you're the only one, is you don't have people to bounce ideas off of. Most of our team, honestly, is the sole athletic trainer. So if you run into a problem, whether that's a clinical problem, an interesting case, a little harder to figure out, it even could be a personal problem. Let's say we were having some discrepancies with coach or school admin, whatever it might is. Just having somebody there to go and bounce ideas off of is just a really important thing, whether it's to gain advice, see somebody else's perspective, whatever it is. It's just a really important aspect. And we definitely try to bring that to the table through a couple initiatives, whether it's, we have weekly huddles, let everybody talk about they had any safety stories, any interests that happened. Sometimes we'll go and we'll talk about interesting cases, bounce some ideas off the team. So I think just having those channels for, again, communication with our team is really helpful. And especially with, education too. That's a big part of it. During those huddles, we do educate ourselves a lot. A lot of times our team will bring up some injuries and, they're injuries I've never even heard of or situations you would never even hear of. And it just, information sharing is just the best way that we can grow. So I think, again, having those opportunities for collaboration, for communication, for education is really the best thing that we can do for everyone.
Amazing. I'm actually this question, Kristen, I'll open up to the rest of the guys. The theme for this year is talking about ATs being champions in healthcare. And on the last show, we talked a little bit about the athletic training movement and how there's still some who don't know exactly what you guys do. I know what you guys do because I work with you guys in various ways, right? But there's still some demographics, whether it's schools or coaches, what have you, that might not know exactly what you do. They don't see all the unseen prep that happens. They don't see all the work that goes behind the scenes, and even on the field, right? Because again, there's sometimes too many people on the field, from MDs, the PTs, the OTs, to the coaches and whoever else. It's hard to discern who's who sometimes on the field. So, what are some things that you want to share with the listeners as we talk about and celebrate Athletic Training Month that can give more awareness to the greatness that you guys are and the champions that you really are in healthcare? I'll have Kristen start, and then if you guys want to chime in after that, by all means, you can.
Yeah, I think honestly, if somebody doesn't know what an athletic trainer is, I usually start by telling them, hey, do you watch the NFL? Good, great. You see those guys who run on the field, the fanny packs and the towels, those are athletic trainers. That's usually the best way to introduce somebody to it, because everyone sees those guys, right? And they kind of, like you're saying, people might assume they might be other healthcare professionals, which sometimes they are, but a lot of times they're not. Usually athletic trainings kind of are almost like that primary medical model for the athlete. So I typically always use that. Again, fanny pack, towel, that's usually an athletic trainer. One thing that's tough about athletic training is, I think, especially in the media and on the outside, what you see is not reflective really much at all of what the bulk responsibility of an athletic trainer is. We actually have a pretty cool graphic that we have for National Athletic Training Month. You might be seeing it on JAG PT Social pretty soon, but we call it the athletic training iceberg, where you only see 10% of what athletic trainers do: taping, handing out water, standing on the sidelines, just hanging out. But that 90% is something very different. That could be, strength conditioning assistance, nutrition, athlete mental health care, rehab, a million other things. So I think, just educating people about our other job responsibilities is something that's really beneficial. And again, just the more awareness, the better.
Thank you so much. Anyone else want to share?
I think it's a little funny too when people ask what is an athletic trainer? Excuse me. A lot of them think it's just like you are a personal trainer in a sense. I get that a lot with, hey, can you help me out with my workout regime, things like that, which I'm more than happy to help, but that's not my sole job. Like Kristen said, we have a million other things that we do behind the scenes. Massage care, doing ultrasound, cupping treatment, scraping, doing all these things, admin, things like that. But a lot of people see on the surface, they're in sports, they're active, they must know what they're doing workout wise. I'm going to go ask them, hey, can you write me a workout plan to help me gain strength, things like that. Right. Which, again, some of us might have our CSCS and are qualified for that. Others don't. We're more than happy to try and help, but that's not specifically what we do. So I just think it's funny. A lot of people just associate us with right away personal trainers.
Yeah. I can definitely relate to that. Many people come to me and say kind of the same thing. Hey, can you stretch? You stretch, right? You stretch me out. Yes, we do that, but we also do a number of other things. But yes, we can. Whatever you see on TV, we can do that as well. So let's get into that. So, Alexa, you want to say something?
Yeah, I mean, it's similar to what Chris was talking about with the iceberg. And same thing with Chris. We looked at it as like hydration specialist or specialist. And honestly, like we're one of the few healthcare practitioners that you can pretty much find us everywhere. I mean, James does nutrition. I know Joe does ergonomics. We have college and high school athletics, but we're in doctor's office with physicians. We're in clinics with physical therapists. We're doing all these different like fine tuning specialties, and you can find us in so many places. We're pretty much like the Swiss Army knife of healthcare practitioners. Like there's almost an AT for every situation that can specialize and get more detailed. But yet, a majority of us can bridge that gap to all these other professions and help refer out. I mean, concussion, nutrition, all these things that I mentioned, because we have this expertise, this constant like ability to adapt and swing back and forth between situations.
Yeah. Well said, sir. Anyone else want to share?
I would also say, since we are on the front lines, we do, let's say, a situation arises. We're also there to then give back to our administration. Hey, we might have to change this emergency action plan or change this protocol because this thing happened or whatever. So we're also, for the administrative wise, giving feedback of what protocols and what emergency action plans and everything needs to be adapted and changed and improved and everything. And you were saying about how on the field and everything, meeting, might not know a doctor or whatever. For football games for Bernard High School, I actually have a medical timeout meeting. So 15 minutes before the game, I send out an email the week before to myself, whoever the visiting athletic trainer is, or the team doctor, the EMTs, and even the head ref. So 15 minutes before we meet at midfield, we go over introducing so everyone knows everyone, what each of our roles are and everything. And then different sign and signals. So if the visiting team needs a doctor, there's a certain signal for that. If we need EMT on the field, there's a different signal we give for that. If we need a backboard, if it's a C-spine injury or something. So this way, everyone's on the same page. Everyone knows if someone needs to go, where the hospital they're going to and everything like that. So you're not asking questions and trying to figure around when you're dealing with a medical emergency right there. So I felt that actually is made a lot smoother for game days for football because everyone knows and everything, and then everyone's prepared. And you're not rushing around or having the other team rush around trying to get a team doctor or anything like that.
Yeah, that's great communication. You guys said communication is key, and you being a part of that bigger picture, make sure all the athletes can be taken care of. That's, again, speaks volumes to your importance, your profession for that game day and your role in making that game day possible. So that's amazing. So open question. How many of you guys, and I asked this to the last group also, but how many of you are athletes before you were ATs? Just kind of give me a head nod or raise your hand if you were. It's usually all of us. Yeah, okay. So I figured that. I figured still am, right? That's right.
Still am.
Once an athlete, always an athlete. Yep. And I think the funny thing about and maybe this is just our demographic of healthcare in general, PTs, OTs, ATs, many of us were athletes at some point in time. And that's how we got into this, whether it was an injury that happened or just the love of the game or the love of something that, that kind of just brought us into this thing. We all have that connection. And one of the things that I've seen, even to my patients, is that the mental prep is sometimes even bigger than the physical prep when it comes to being back on the field, right? When it comes to being able to perform at a higher level or just at the level you were performing before you got hurt. And sometimes it's really hard for whoever, adolescents, those who are older, younger, etc., to actually trust the process of what we're trying to share with them, trying to show them and getting them ready for that big game day. So I'm curious, open question to each of you. How do you mentally prepare your athletes? How do you mentally prepare your population? Because again, even as a PT, right? I can show people how to do certain things. I can walk them through exercises, functional movements, etc. But there's a certain banter that also goes into that conversation to get them ready mentally to go out there and do that. And I think the great ATs, great PTs, great OTs do that very, very well, right? You can inspire and get the fear out of someone to go out there and trust you to do whatever they're doing, to go out there and be great on the field. But there's also sometimes those who are hesitant to trust us, and they're fearful to trust us or to trust their own bodies and what you're trying to show them. So what are some tips, some things you want to share that you've shared with your clients, your athletes, your adolescents to get them over that mental hump, to get ready for that game day?
Well, I'd like to start and take this one. So with my clientele, my population, and being in an academy, it's very military-like, and everything is very strict. The instructors are very strict. All the coaches there, if you want to call them, are very strict. I have the luxury of not being so strict. So to mentally prepare, say, one of the recruits for their jiu-jitsu assessment or their defensive tactic assessment, I have the opportunity to pull them off to the side and talk to them, for lack of a better word, like a human being. Like we can have we're having a one-on-one conversation now. I have that ability to break the tension and let them know that do your best. It's okay. But having that communication and kind of toning it down a little bit, because they are stressed, at least again with my population, they are stressed. They're constantly getting yelled at. They're constantly standing at attention. And just standing at attention and having someone's eyes on you, not even saying it, is very, it can mentally mess up their head. So what I do is just talk, but I'm allowed to tone it down from what the instructors do. And honestly, that works wonders because that builds trust, because next thing you know, then they come and see me, or after their assessment, they'll come and see me and they'll give me like a head nod or they'll give me a thumbs up. Maybe they can't speak to me at that time, but that head nod, that thumbs up lets me know that, hey, we talked, they did well, I did my job. Yeah. So toning it down a little bit, at least in my population.
That's big.
I like to say a lot for my fall athletes, especially soccer players. Like I said earlier, they're very focused on the game. They're trying to, zone in on what they need to do, things like that. A lot of the times I pull them to the side a little bit, kind of like what Joe does, but I'm a little more jokey. I try to get them a little more looser and just try to remind them, like, this is a game you've been playing for, 10 plus years. You know what you're good at. You know what you're supposed to do. All you have to go out there is just play the game that you love to play. And then as as we're finishing up our conversation, I'll kind of like joke with them a little bit and be like, hey, let me see a goal and an assist or something like that today. And then, he scores or she scores, they'll come off on the sideline during halftime, kind of look at me and just give me a smile. And that's how I know, like, they're locked in. They know what they're doing. They know what they're supposed to be doing. And it's like an added, like, bonus, if you will, for the athlete. Like, I have this goal that doesn't, like, it was just for fun, but I did it. Kind of thing, something like that.
Yeah, that's great.
I think one thing that I personally always like to do as an athletic trainer is kind of like how the other guys are alluding to is, typically it's a pretty high stress environment in the athletic training. We try to be kind of seen as like that beacon of, okay, this person's my calm. They've helped me get through an injury. But I think even when it comes down to it, those are typically the people that are the most nervous. We typically aren't the one talking to the 5-star athlete. They made, all the goals, they had all the shots. They're okay. Usually the kids that we kind of need to hype up and amp up a little bit are those kids who might have gotten injured and now they're coming back. Because you would imagine, getting injured can definitely be a very traumatic event, no matter how long you were out for, whether it was just a little bit or especially those long-term surgical cases. So getting back into a game, you could have gone through a bunch of practices, but that first game back is always going to be really difficult, mentally for an athlete. So that's why even it goes back to making sure we do prep them as best as we can, making sure we went full go in practice. We did the hardest rehab we can do to go and make sure they do feel truly confident as a game, and just kind of reiterating to that, ready to play, like, hey, you've been practicing, you've been working super hard. I have confidence in you. You need to have confidence in yourself. and kind of just reminding them all the work they can get into. Because again, getting injured and returning, it's a really big jump, and it's hard to do for that first time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would agree on that. One story that kind of relates to it. So I have there's two twins. One tore their ACL 2 years ago, both in basketball, both running to the rim, jump stop, knee kept on going. One didn't return, and then the other one did it last year. So she was doing PT at JAG in the Bedminster offices, and I during the summertime would see her here and there when the few times I was in each week. And then in like the end of the summer, I was like, hey, so like you looking ready back basketball? And she's like, I don't know, and everything a little tentative. And then through the fall, like every so often, I would see her and like check in with her and everything. I would be like, understand, like PT's one thing, but then once you come back, there's going to be a whole protocol you're going to go through. So everything you're going to do once you're back into the game, you would have already done like 100 times before with me, either on the side or in practices. So everything is going to be back to normal before you even are on the court. So you have nothing to worry for once you're back into games, because you've already would have done it 100 times previously. So that really gave her a peace of mind. And actually 2 weeks ago, she was back in her first game. So that was pretty cool.
That's dope. That's awesome. That's awesome.
I mean, everybody kind of nailed it here. There's not much more I can add. I know one thing that I tend to do for anyone that shows some sort of nerves or gives me this feeling that they might start doubting whether they're ready or they'll be able to return. I explain the process similar to what James said, and I tell them point blank, like, if you get hurt again, I mean, with something like an ACL, it's different. I don't always say this with an ACL injury, but something more minor. I tell them point blank, like, look, if you do all the work and you do all this process to get back on the field, if you get hurt with the same injury in the same way, it's not your fault. It's my fault. Like, I didn't actually prep you the right way. I didn't push you the right way, and I didn't see the signs to pump the brakes. And I say that specifically because then it takes the blame off of them. And because a lot of them feel like it's their fault. They get hurt and they're going to get blamed by somebody or they did something wrong. And by taking that off of them, all of a sudden it feels like they're like, hey, he's going to protect me. He's gonna slow me down if he doesn't think I'm ready. And even then I say, hey, you can get upset at me if I slow you down. That's fine. You can let it out. I'm still going to just slow you down because I don't want you to get hurt. So by taking that like stress relief off them, I've noticed that's helped them like recover a little faster because now they're willing to push. They're going to follow instructions a little better. They're going to stick to the program a little better.
That's interesting. I got hurt in high school and college. I tore my meniscus twice, both basketball related. And I mentioned on the first show, we had a couple athletic trainers at my high school in college, but again, we had so many more students. I mean, the football team just kind of engulfed them. So as a track runner, basketball guy, we had access to them clearly as well. But I was so much more connected to my physical therapist. We had a PT also on site, and I connected more with him. And each of you are saying kind of the same thing about communication. But you really sound more like you guys are not just ATs. You guys are moms, your dads, your coaches. You're doing so many more things than I think what's visually seen from the stands. And that's big. And I'm talking about that as an athlete, former and current, but also just as a clinician. It really does bode to the confidence that the athlete puts in you to trust, like you said, Alexis, trust that whatever you're doing is going to be for their betterment. And I think you talking about taking the pressure off. Yeah, I remember being an athlete and having that pressure, getting hurt, not wanting to share with my coach that I got hurt, and not want to let the team down or my fellow athletes down or even my parents down. There's so much pressure that goes with that. So you saying that and taking the pressure off, yeah, I can see how that could definitely make someone feel more inspired, more driven to go out there and trust and push and to get better quicker. My question for each of you now is, what do you do when that athlete says, you know what, I don't need y'all. Like I'm good. I don't need to prep. I'm okay. I don't need to stretch. I'm very talented, so I got this. It's okay. And you can see that if they don't do what you're telling them to do, they might be on the verge of getting injured or having some kind of something happen down the road. How do you inspire someone who doesn't want to listen to what you're saying, doesn't want to trust the process, doesn't want to listen to all your tutelage, but you know that they have the ability to go out there and be great, but what's holding them back is their lack of trust in you or in the model of preparing for the big day?
Interesting. At the academy, doesn't matter if they trust me or not. They have to do whatever whatever I say. And again, that's just from a military thing. But no, in seriousness, we have. If I could take the question, just change it a little bit, just again from the standpoint of explaining things. I like to give real life scenarios. And this is what I mean. You don't want to do this stretch. You don't want to perform this technique. Well, Jimmy, 2 classes ago, we had this recruit who had this, and this, and they had to get, unfortunately, medically separated. And I don't want that to happen to you. So building that trust, but also giving them real life examples. And then this may sound kind of harsh, but with the academy, it's either do or die. This is a life-changing. This is a career, right? Yeah. I don't want them to end their career before they began. So telling them having that communication about, I'm doing this for a reason. I'm telling you these things for a reason. I'm here to help you, not to hurt you. That to me goes a long way.
Yeah, I think kind of expanding on what Joe is saying, I think a lot of times athletes, it's not that they don't want care. Their ultimate fear is that they don't want to be taken out. Sometimes they look at us and they kind of say, all right, she's going to take us out. So I think just letting them know, like I usually say, honestly, in a joking format, I'll tell them like, listen, I don't want to take you out because that's more documentation I have to do and that's more work I have to do. And I don't want to do more work. So I think just getting them on your side where, hey, ultimately our goal for both of us is for you to play. Because again, sometimes you'll talk to them and say, I'm fine. They'll go away. Because again, they don't want to get taken out. Right. But letting them know, again, you don't want them to get taken out. I'm on your side. I want to do everything I can to keep you in this game. And adding that little bit of humor, and I'd say a little bit of honesty, of saying, hey, there's no need for us to do this and add extra work for either of us if you don't need it, usually does work pretty well with getting them to comply.
Yeah, just going off what Kristen said about the joking around with the athletes. I have one athlete that we have a running joke with for the past 2 years that he jokes that he doesn't want to make me do my job, which it's funny, but at the same time, like he tore his meniscus 2 years ago. He came back and played full season this year, and he was in here doing his rehab every single day. A little bit different from the question you asked, Sean, but he would come in and just be like, I want to do my rehab. I want to stay on the field. I don't want to see you every day for another reason, which is perfect. ATs love hearing that. Yeah. But like every single day when he would see me, he was like, just making sure you don't have to do your job today. He would go do his rehab. We'd talk, catch up, and then he'd go out to the practice field. But I think it's tough, going back to your original question on the athletes that feel like they don't need it anymore or feel like they're back to their 100%. They're going to do what they did beforehand. I like to try and set goals with them. If they decide that, they're on like their last couple days of rehab, they're going to just go back to practice. I like to set goals with them to ensure that if this is really what you feel and are comfortable with, let's have a goal of you do this by the time you are back at practice, and then you don't need me anymore. Which in my experience, it's been working. It makes them want to work harder to get back to the field, to the court, wherever they play. And it gives them the extra motivation to get back as soon as they can. And it gives me the extra motivation too, like, hey, I want this athlete back as quick as possible. If I have to slow them down, I'll slow them down, but I'm going to do everything in my power to get them back as quickly as possible and almost to 100%, just like they were.
Anyone else?
Sometimes, yes, it's being brutally honest and actually switching it completely of what Alexa said before is instead of taking it, us putting it on them, saying if something happens, then it's on you because you're not doing A, B, and C. But also another thing that I see is, especially like, let's say it's like stretching or warm ups or taking care of their body, rolling out or whatever, it's laziness. So it'd be like, if you want to be this top 5% or be all counting or whatever, like you got to do the small things because the small things equals the big things that you want. So you can do this, but then you're not probably going to get the goals you want, and there's risk that you might miss time, and then we might lose games because you're not doing it because pretty much it's just laziness. So you can choose to be lazy, or you can choose to do those small things to then reach those big goals that you want to do.
Well said. Yes. The laziness is something that really bothers me. I'm not gonna lie to you. And I'm thinking about it more as an athlete when I was in school and we had people who just didn't want to put the work in. I was like, you'd be so much better if you just actually practiced, or if you actually went to the weight room, or if you actually stretched, or came to work on time, or came to practice on time. You'd be amazing. But you don't want to do that. So what's the big deal? But I also see it with our patients, right? The patients who just don't do the home exercises. You probably have athletes who just don't go and do what you tell them what to do, and they come in with the same issues, the same recurrent ankle sprain, the same like hamstring issue. And you're like, yo, if you just did what I told you to do, you'd be great. But since you're not doing that, here we are again. So I agree with all of you, putting the ownership on them, taking back and forth, those things do matter. And it's frustrating though when you can see someone's potential and they're just not doing what you know they can do. But again, as you guys are coaches and fathers and mothers and aunties and uncles, you guys inspire them to do that great thing. So, Alexis, you want to share anything?
No, I mean, in regards to this, everybody once again is doing a fantastic job. I know I talk to a lot of my athletes and ask a lot of questions to kind of get a feel for where they're at. And if they feel like they don't need my help anymore or wouldn't want it, I kind of stand back and do like a bird's eye view approach where I continue to ask questions, but not pestering. I'll just kind of keep an eye on them. And then similar to like what Joe was saying, I just kind of relate it to either a teammate's similar history or even to what they got to do during a game and what movements that they may have to perform. So I know like for my rugby guys, when they get into rucks or scrums, if I notice somebody's having an issue holding up their end of a scrum, hey, is it because you have tightness in your legs? Is it a hamstring issue? And I start asking questions. I don't assume, I just ask. And all of a sudden I can kind of see the dots connected as we're having this conversation. And the next you know, guy comes in maybe a day later, he's like, hey, yeah, my legs have been a little tight, so on and so forth. And now all of a sudden there's that door opening up. And here we go, we start working on certain things. So it's kind of like touch and go. You know, we can be kind of hard with some people. We can be more abrasive to kind of get that information. But others, we got to realize, hey, we're going to take a step back, ask these questions, and just wait until the breadcrumbs lead back.
I love that thing. Last question for each of you. We talked a lot about your athletes, talked a lot about your profession, the unseen prep behind the scenes, what you guys are putting into this to make your athletes and your clients so much better. But I just want to ask you personally, what are you planning on doing this year to put more life, more energy, more zeal, more trust, more whatever into your training as ATs? What's going to be the thing that you're doing in 2025 to be more in terms of what you're going to do for yourself to be a better athletic trainer this year? Let's start with Chris.
So one thing that I really have been trying to get started with is get my CSCS and become a strength coach on top of, being a full-time athletic trainer. And that's something that I've wanted to do since college. I just never, it's, you say you're going to do it and then it gets put in the back burners just because you get so overwhelmed at work every day. But I think it's definitely something that I want to personally finally get started and take the courses and everything like that and become a certified strength coach, just so I can kind of broaden my horizon a little bit, help the athletes in a different way other than them coming in here and be like, hey, can I get my ankle taped? I can help them in the weight room if they're weak in one area. I can give them different exercises that they haven't seen yet that really focus on that area. It's just something that I've been always wanted to do. And I think this year is definitely going to be the year that I finally get started on.
Chris, not gonna lie to you, that's been on my bucket list for a long time as well, sir. So
Yeah.
let's do it together this year. I've said a lot of things on this show, and they're recorded, so they're etched in stone.
Yeah,
So let's make sure that happens this year. Me and you will get that thing done this year for sure.
for sure,
Yeah,
for
we'll
sure.
do that. Awesome. How about you, James?
So for me, the other athletic trainers know what recently I've been dealing with at my school. So recently I'm trying to help put together and fine tune mental health protocols and training for our coaches. Like once this fall, I actually had one of my athletes attempt suicide at home. So there's been other issues coming up in the past like year and a half, and at times coaches like will run in like, "Hey James, we don't know what to do," and
Hmm.
would come bring me with an anxiety attack, whatever. So I've addressed this recently with the school administration stuff. So recently, actually this past week, they approved about 30% of our coaches aren't in district employees. So they approved for all the non-district employees that are going to be able to do mental health training. And they also put together kind of like a mental health packet. So basically, like what to look out for the coaches, different links of resources, because we're there after hours. So during the school day, teachers can just refer them to the school psychologist or the guidance or whatever, but we don't have anyone afterwards. So they put together like who to refer and everything, and then protocols and everything. That was actually just sent to me yesterday. So now I'm going to print that out, put it up on my board, and then all the coaches will have access to it too. And then I've also been talking to my AD probably down the road, like summer or so, see about because one of our coaches is a school psychologist, maybe do an in service, and just do like a talk shop of different incidents people seen and have had in the past and everything, and different ways to go about it. So mental health for my athletes is probably my priority this year.
Love it. Big time topic. Needs to be addressed, especially with your demographic. I have a 9-year-old daughter. The conversation we have right now at 9 years old, I was not having when I was 9 years old. So I think all those things are pertinent and necessary. So well done. Alexis?
I know for me, the past probably 6 months, I've been having a lot more conversations with my athletes about nutrition, especially with what's going on in this world today with food and water and all. But that's a whole nother podcast, I guess. But I would like to try to delve more into knowing some of the nutritional aspects, more detail. I know James has been doing some more nutrition work and more on the level of like different like vitamins, micro and macronutrients, just to kind of help them out. But also because they're collegiate athletes. At this level, how much money did they have to spend to actually get good nutrition? How much availability on like the campus cafeterias for like actual good food? I got kids who still live off ramen noodles, and we say it as a joke because we kind of all have done it, but nowadays you get the wrong ramen noodles and it has and you eat it long enough, you get some long lasting negative effects. So that is definitely one thing that I would like to improve upon in regards to how I can help my athletes out.
Awesome. Awesome. Let's go, Joseph, and then we'll end with Kristen.
I think for 2025, well, I want to be more of a voice for athletic trainers in the public safety setting, well, which is what I'm in. It's such an untapped resource, and having athletic trainers in this setting, it's to me, it's a no-brainer. So my goal for 2025 is I'd like to be that voice, get on some committees. The NATA has a lot of what we call the COPA committee, which is practice advancement in these emergent settings, whether it be public safety, doctor's practice, industrial. But for particularly for that public safety setting, I want to be that voice. I want to be a lobbyist to have athletic trainers in that setting. And again, it doesn't have to be just law enforcement. It could be EMS. It could be the fire department. I want to be that voice to help the people who help us. And that's kind of what my goal is.
Amazing. Amazing.
I think for myself, since I don't particularly have my own set of athletes, my goals are a little bit different. I think one thing I'm definitely looking forward to doing is advocating for athletic training, and those who don't have athletic trainers. It's pretty cool, especially now in the Northeast, in our area especially. JAG has become a pretty much a very desired resources for schools, organizations, colleges, whoever, to use athletic training services, whether it's somebody needs a sub, there's like a youth organization that might want summer camp help, whatever it might be. JAG is definitely being requested to do these, and it's really nice being able to follow through. So part of that, not only providing on-site coverage, of course, that's the most important thing, but we're also offering a lot of different initiatives to, our essentially our partners that can help them build athlete sports safety. For example, when partners, if they need help with emergency action planning, if they want like an in-service on, how would I go about handling cardiac arrest in addition to CPR? How would I, what are like some telltale signs of concussions? Because of course, our first pick is everybody. We love everybody to have their own athletic trainer 24/7, but we know sometimes that's not feasible. So education to the general community on how can they best take care of their athletes and what resources can we provide them. That's definitely something that's on my goal for this year.
Amazing. Guys, thank you all so much for your comments and your tutelage today on athletic training and this great month. And we highlight you. You all are champions in healthcare. I salute each and every last one of you for your service, for your hard work, and making sure that our athletes, young and old, get back on the field for game day. So I appreciate all of you guys. And Kristen, last question for you. If someone wants to learn more about JAG Physical Therapy, their AT program, to have AT come on site for them, or if they want to be a part of our team, how can they go about doing that?
Yeah, so they can do one of two things. On our JAG Physical Therapy website, we actually have a whole athletic training page. We have a lot of cool resources on there, whether it's blogs written by our athletic trainers, educational videos, educational pamphlets, whatever it might be. A lot of really good resources on there. So again, that's under JAG PT. Just click on athletic training. We also do have a form on there. So if there's any athletic trainers who are looking to either one, looking for a full-time job, a per diem job, even any prospective students. So if you're somebody who's in college looking to go into athletic training, you're in your master's program, whatever it might be, you can go ahead and contact us on that form or email us at athletictraining@jagpt.com.
Awesome. Any final comments, folks, before we close out? Amazing. You guys have been great. And we again salute each and every last one of you for this sensational month of March, not just because it's my birthday, but also because it's March celebration for ATs all around the world. And we salute you guys so much. So thank you guys for being on the show today. And for those who are continuing to follow the Be More Today show, we will be here next Monday with more things to keep you more alive in 2025. Have a good day. Have a good night. Have a great life and continue to be more in 2025. Peace.